Rakdos has returned, and today I'm going to be bringing you something a little bit different. I am going to do a replay commentary of the new patch, the free update for Monster Train. I'm going to try to do a full mechanics breakdown of all of the mechanics you're seeing in the run, and just kind of chill out and chat about random things. It's going to be a pretty long video, so I'll start explaining the mechanics a little bit through once we have a couple units under our belt and we can explain everything in a more fluid, kind of less rushed pace. Explaining what all of these cards do right off the bat would be a little overwhelming. So to start with, let's talk about kind of my history with Monster Train. The game has been out for quite a while now, and when it first came out, I binge watched it on Twitch and YouTube. Several content creators like Rhapsody, I watched endlessly and fell in love with the game. I had to buy it and play it myself, and unfortunately I kind of burnt myself out on it. I played it non-stop, pretty much almost an unhealthy amount, I would say, and tried to get to Covenant rank 25 as fast as possible. That is the difficulty ladder in the game. The higher Covenant rank you have, the harder the game is just in general. The enemies are tougher, and you have more challenges to face. So it is a deck building, roguelike kind of card game, similar to like Slay the Spire, a game that I also adored and put several hundred hours into as well. This game has a different kind of charm than Slay the Spire, to me at least, and it's very, very, I don't know, the way that the tactics are in this game is more appealing to me. I like building my deck more in this. It's just kind of more compelling in a sense. So the enemies will come in on the bottom floor, as you see here, and your train has 3 floors. At the very top of the train is your pyre. The pyre's health is displayed in the top left-hand corner. On Covenant rank 25, you start the run with damage. So you can see I have 40 pyre health out of 80, I believe is the starting max. And when the enemy units reach the top floor, they trade blows with your pyre, dealing damage to it and taking damage from it. As you can see next to the 40, there's a 20 with a sword and a shield. That's how much damage the pyre does when it strikes. So it is pretty strong, but you don't want units to get up there. You don't want to take damage. When that reaches 0, you lose. Also displayed in the very top left is your artifacts, or relics, whatever they are called in this game. They give you a bonus to sometimes all of your units. They will change how your cards function. They will reduce the cost of your cards, allow their abilities to trigger multiple times. They're very, very, very powerful. Here we are on the boss wave of the first floor, and we can see by the X on the boss's life that they're going to die for the exchange. So we just hit the next button and continue forward. After the fight, we are given options of cards to add to our deck. We have to think very tactically here. Adding too many cards to our deck will mean that it's very inconsistent and it won't pull off its combos as easily. But having too weak a deck means that you will likely take a lot of damage to your pyre. Considering these cards carefully, the cards that are 0 cost are very, very appealing for my deck, so I want to go with the Packed Morsels. I'm looking to pick up units that can consume later, and trigger abilities off of eating these little morsel units. And then I am offered a unit. It's not something that can make morsels or consume them. Actually, it is something that can make morsels. There's a morsel maker right there. But I want the card with Incant because of my champion. Every clan in the game now has 2 champions with the Friends and Foes update, and I am very eager to test out these new ones. The way I like to do it is to pick a single champion and play them religiously until I fully understand them. Here we get to pick up a Great Gorge unit in the Shadow Eater and give one of our units an upgrade. Now we got to consider our floor space. Every floor has a capacity, and units take up capacity equal to the number of little yellow pips that you see above the card. This will increase that floor space consumption by 1. It will increase how much space the unit takes up, but it will make them much, much stronger. I want to set up a floor with just my champion and a unit with Incant to gain power off of all of the spells that I'm casting on that floor. And why not make all of those spells trigger and give her armor as well? We're thinking we can use her as a scaling frontliner and use our champion, Solgar the Martyr, as a heavy hitting damage dealer. Being that our deck takes a little bit of time to ramp up, we normally set up our units on the very top floor. This is good for 2 reasons. One, it buys us a lot of time to get our units powerful, and secondarily, it allows us the opportunity to kill the Collector, which will pop up in every non-boss fight. When it spawns, it will spawn on either the 2nd floor or the 3rd floor. And on Covenant 25, every unit you play on the top floor is immediately dazed, so they cannot attack. If you don't put a unit on the top floor in the first round, and you don't have any spells in your deck that deal damage to any unit, it can be very difficult to get the Collector. Here you see the Collector spawns in on the 2nd floor. Thankfully, we have our packed morsels that we picked up, allowing us to play morsel units for free. And thanks to our relic, we will gain energy for every 2nd unit we play, triggering there, allowing us to play our Gorge unit, the Shadow Eater. When the Shadow Eater eats morsels, he deals damage to every enemy unit on the floor. So with the 2 morsels behind him, as you see there, when I end my turn, he will consume them. Gorge ability will trigger, and he will deal damage to the entire floor. We took 1 damage to our Pyre there, as you saw. And we're trying to cast as many spells on the top floor as possible to trigger the Incants. Now that we have cast 4 spells, our commander, nope, that's Magic the Gathering, our champion is active and can fight. How he works is he comes into the battlefield and he does not fight and cannot take damage. He is essentially removed from all existence. And you need to cast a certain amount of spells on his floor for him to wake up and for him to fight. This is why we chose to have another unit that has Incant on his floor and gain a benefit from all of those spells. Every 1-cost spell, every random spell that we can just cast on any floor, we want to make sure we're casting on that top floor. As you can see, the frontliner is taking all of the damage from the boss. The boss is going to do 8 attack per swing, and we have 68 life with 13 armor. And a whole lot of damage behind that coming through, so they had just no chance to get anywhere near our champion there. Here we're going to pick up a Titan's Tooth, I think, if I remember correctly. We have a lot of cards that let us discard, and we do need Area of Effect. We need something to sweep the enemies off the board. Yep, we definitely take the Titan's Tooth. And here, the Packed Morsels looked good. Perils of Production seemed good as well. Something that allows us to gain energy is very strong, especially because I have 2 cards in my deck that already have Ember Drain, those immortal trades about halfway through. Because they give me Ember Drain, I want a card that gives me Ember instantly. After you beat each floor, you're presented with a left and a right path. They will contain different benefits and upgrade slots, and you have to weigh your options and see which path yields the best results for your run. This takes a little bit of practice actually, and is one of the main appeals to the game, I find. I really like planning out exactly which routes to take and what upgrades I need. Alright, so let's take a look at how the deck is going to perform in the future. The Shadow Eater is going to be on a floor all by itself, and we are going to try to put as many of the morsel units behind it to trigger its Gorge ability. At the end of every turn, he will consume these morsels. As you can see, that Shade Splitter card is an example of a card that creates a morsel. Just makes a unit that takes a floor space, and that unit is kind of a sacrificial unit. The Siren of the Sea is very important as well. The incant triggers every time that we cast a spell. And we do not need another Gorge unit. These are nice Gorge units, but we do not need another one. And here we're thinking about what card to duplicate. If we could possibly fit that many Sirens of the Sea on one floor, that would be great. If we want one on another floor, that would also be very great, because we're going to be casting a lot of spells with this deck regardless. And here we're offered a unit that has multi-strike and can deal pretty good damage if you upgrade him, but he does make your deck a little bit inconsistent to have, and I decide to skip him. The deck that I'm working with needs to be very consistent. It needs to play as many spells as it can to awaken my champion. So unfortunately we can't take that gamble. So this is the first mini boss. There are 2 mini bosses and the final boss. When you beat this boss, you will automatically get a upgrade to your Pyre's health, your Pyre's damage, and you will receive either a Ember to play your spells, so you'll start with 4 Ember instead of 3, or you can choose to gain +1 card draw every turn. So you will be drawing 6 cards instead of 5, or you can choose to gain +1 floor space on every floor, so the capacity will be increased by 1. In the very first round, I have managed to play 2 spells on the top floor. I decide not to play that on the top floor and instead play it on the bottom so that I get 1 kill. Trying to build up as much as I can before the enemies reach the top floor. We can use these morsel units to absorb hits if we put them in front of our units here. So I could absorb 2 hits with morsel units, but I realize that's not really efficient. Maybe keeping the morsel units in my deck is a little bit more efficient. So maybe later when I have no energy due to Ember Drain and I draw these morsels, I will be able to play them and gain energy due to my relic. So we're going to leave them in the deck. As you can see, that Gorge triggers and deals damage across everyone. Those units in the back on the enemy side only have 1 life, So as long as I get at least one morsel behind the Shadow Eater every turn, as you see I prioritize here, bam, the X appear on the enemy. They will instantly die. We don't have enough space to put both Sirens of the Sea on the same floor, so we have one cover the bottom floor, just in case we need to use any spells down there. They do have quite a bit of life. Right now I'm debating whether or not to use the Immortal Trade. We're definitely going to use the Ice Tornado, but do we use the Immortal Trade this turn? Ice Tornado dealing 20 damage to enemy units 3 times. We're going to use it on the bottom just to soften them up a little bit. We are going to drop the Ember Drain, which will give Lifesteal 3 to that frontliner. So not only are they incredibly powerful, not only do they have a lot of life, but now they have Lifesteal 3, which means their damage is healed back to them in life 3 times. This is for 3 separate attacks. I pay the price here. It reduces the energy that I have on the next turn by 2, so I have less Ember to work with, but we make do. If we could only play one more unit on this turn, we would be able to gain Ember and combo off a little bit better. But we're winning the fight pretty handedly as is, so no real need. These 0 Ember foregone powers, how they work, they apply 6 Frostbite. Frostbite is kind of like a poison effect. It applies it to the unit, and then the unit will take that much damage at the beginning of their turn, and then the Frostbite will decrease by 1. So it puts 6 on them. At the end of their turn they take 6. Then the Frostbite will go to 5. At the end of their next turn they'll take 5. Then the Frostbite will go to 4, and so on and so forth. It's very powerful to use that on enemies that just enter the terrain on the bottom, so that they have maximum turns to take the damage as they ascend upwards. Here we're looking to put a morsel behind the Shadow Eater, but we don't see any way to do that, so we're just trying to blast through some of the damage he's going to take. We're debating on if we'd use Perils of Production here to gain a little bit of energy, and what we would do with that. A little bit of Ember, I mean. We're like, alright, there's only one wave remaining, and our top lane's looking pretty good, so we might as well just buff it like crazy. Stack it up so that when the boss gets up there, he just has no way to get past them. And that gives us enough energy to use the Guardian's Amulet, which will allow us to put Sap 2, which reduces the enemy's damage. And now the final wave has occurred. The boss will clear out every single floor after he has killed all the units and ascend upwards. And you want to deal as much damage to the boss as possible before he hits your pyre, obviously, and your boss and the pyre will just trade hits until one of the 2 of you dies. We are very hindered here. We can't play anything because of our Ember Drain. Here we're still looking to just cast as many spells on the top floor as possible to pump up our Siren. Put as many morsels down behind the Shadow Eater to deal as much damage here. Definitely cast the Immortal Trade to give 6 lifesteal total, so they will restore life for the next 6 attacks. And he has no chance to survive. Here are the cards that it's offering. It offers some pretty powerful cards here. We want spells that are cheap. We already have a ton of damage on the top line, so we have single target damage down. There are a couple different aspects that you need to look at when you're playing through, especially on Covenant 25. You want single target damage. You need clear area of effect damage, and you need scaling damage that's multiplicative and gets stronger and stronger each turn. And you need a good amount of each of those to make it through each fight. You need to clear out the little guys. You need to be able to deal with the enemies that have plus 100 life, so that they don't go up and destroy your pyre. And then lastly, you need to gain tons of power throughout the fight to be able to handle a very high health boss. We're just thinking about which of these really lets us do those things, and we don't have the scaling down quite yet. And what will let us scale the most here is the Shroud Spike. So we're going to take that. And then we are offered another set of pretty decent units, but again, we have the Shadow Eater on its own floor. We have the boss, our champion, and a Siren of the Sea on one floor. And then the last floor is a Siren of the Sea. And then what would we even have on that floor? Maybe a Titan Sentry in front of that, but maybe not, because we have morsels. So do we leave room for the morsels? I think we do. I think we just skip. Or do we take the Titan Sentry? I actually don't remember. I don't think we take the Titan Sentry. I really don't, but I'm looking at it really hard here. I did! Incredible. Interesting. Well, past me knows better in this situation, because we do end up doing pretty well in this run. I'm excited to see what impact the Titan Sentry has, because I actually don't remember. But it actually is an aspect of area of effect. And you know what? Looking at it, the only area of effect that I had was the Titan's Tooth. So the Titan Sentry is actually pretty good, because that was the aspect I was lacking. I actually did have scaling down, especially with the Shroud Spike that I just picked up. Okay, now I see. So here I get to upgrade my spells. I am removing Consume from Packed Morsels. So that means when I play it, it does not remove itself from my deck, allowing me to play it multiple times. The next thing I do is reduce its cost from 1 to 0. When I removed Consume, it increased its cost, but now I've reduced it back down to 0. I want to be able to play that every single time I draw it, and draw it multiple times. And the last upgrade here is damage. I can upgrade a spell to give plus 10 damage. I think I'm going to cast Helical Crystals more. It's cheaper, so the odds of me casting it are higher, so I want to upgrade it first. I have 60 left. I might as well purge a card to increase my deck's consistency. We really want to get these Train Stewards out. They serve no purpose. They're dead draws. And then we're going to upgrade our champion here. I really wanted to mess with the Titan channel. I really think that the Dire channel is super cool, and I heavily weighed these options. It's very strange. 35-35 starting doesn't seem very strong, but you think about it that, you know, even the first mini-boss only has 8 attack. You know, so you're going to hit him several times with that 35 life. 75-75? That's really big. Now, playing 9 spells on that floor to get him to activate is a little challenging. So it is kind of tempting to go the Dire channel route just so that he activates faster. You only have to cast 4 spells for him to, you know, start doing his effect. But with this route and how we've been playing, you know, you have to imagine what's in front of him. It's going to be a Siren of the Sea. And if I choose the right upgrades, which is capacity, which I did, I can have 2 Siren of the Seas on that floor. And if they're super huge, all I want is for him to be as huge as humanly possible. So as tempting as the Dire channel is, we're going to do way more damage and be way more survivable with the Titan's channel. After thinking about it for like a good 10 minutes, I pick up the Titans channel. And then we move on to the next fight. Let's mention these trials. So every fight there's a trial. It will be a randomly selected difficult thing that you can add to the fight for an additional reward. Here, I would allow the enemies to enter with Spell Shield. This would negate the damage that spells do to them, and if I allow them to enter with this shield and win, I gain extra coins. So I am taking the trial. That glowy bubble in front of them represents the spell shield. That enemy in the back is an interesting one. You do want to kill them. If they're left on the floor, they add cards to your deck that deal damage to you. And so you'll not only draw less cards because you end up drawing their cards, you will be taking damage if you don't spend Ember to play them. Are we going to go ham with the Ember Drain right from the get-go, knowing that our deck is going to get trashed? Of course we will. As many spells as we possibly can. So that burning card, that weight, that's the card that got added to our deck. So as you can see, we're like, we need to at least spend one on the weight so that we don't take damage at the end of the turn. Here's where the packed morsels that we heavily upgraded is going to come into play. And hey there, Titan Center, you're pretty good here. Past Rakdos was thinking pretty clearly with that one. So you're going to set up that on the bottom, make the bottom do a lot of damage. Yep, we get to play the weight, and we gained Ember already from playing 2 units. So we're planning on playing the packed morsels. We're just picking what floor we want to play it on. Probably the top, to get our champion a little bit closer to activating and being able to fight with us. And then we pick where these morsels go. Morsels themselves have an eaten effect, so they're not just for triggering abilities, they also will buff up the front unit. So after the turn is over, that morsel will imbue the front unit with 4 attack. And the top one will imbue the front unit with health. They get pretty cool. Morsels can do crazy things. So we're getting a lot of these weights added to our deck. Thankfully, our starting relic lets us get around that for the most part. Here it does kind of choke us out, but we already have a really good start. We play the weight to make sure we're not taking any useless damage. Set up lifesteal on the top. We want to stack lifesteal on the top as much as possible. The plan so far has been to use immortal trades on that siren to make sure that they cannot die for the first several rounds of combat, giving our champion much more hits. We take 1 to our pyre, but for a Covenant 25, our pyre is actually looking pretty healthy, so we're totally fine with that. We finally have our Ember back to a decent level. Continuously playing these weights, we don't want to take that damage for free. We see that we have 2 Shade Splitters. This will allow us to play 2 units and gain Ember. We're going to drop 1 there, and we're going to drop 1 on the bottom here. We gained 3 Ember. Now we can play a pretty strong spell, either Helical Crystals or Titan's Tooth. Now they do have Spell Shield, which will block the instance of damage, but the Titan's Tooth will still apply Frostbite. So you can see this guy's at 61, and he died from that. Oh, the reason he died from that was because our champion woke up and was able to join the fight. Now, Soul Guard is in the fight, 75-75, with somebody in front of him that's a 72 and growing, and the shield on them is growing as well. So, and not only that, the boss is going to get softened up a little bit by this bottom line, who isn't exactly a pushover. We have the energy, so we might as well use it. We're gonna hit one of them with an ice tornado, keep stacking up this top line, ensure our victory here. We get a lot of triggers. Boss comes in. We get to do at least 120 damage. We're going to try to get a little bit more in on the boss before he ascends. Let's drop down his attack. The ice tornadoes will not do anything really. It's just kind of dropping the spell shields and boosting us up a tiny bit. Hit the immortal trade, get a lot of life steal so that we can survive a little bit longer, and jump in the fight. Pretty decent damage dealt to the boss. Shadow Eater, a little late to the party. Just make sure we don't take damage here and try to apply some frostbite. We get to apply it twice, that's pretty nice. And then he gets to our kill floor, which he has truly no hope of getting through even our frontline unit, let alone our champion. And we have an immortal trade just for good measure. We throw everything down just to make the boss look extra easy. Destroyed. Did take 1 point of damage there. So we're thinking about these options. We don't need the magic power. The sap would be interesting, but not entirely necessary, and the frostbite is not necessary. Take a look at these. Cannibalize, we don't always have a morsel down, unfortunately. Excavation Eruption is alright, but we don't have enough Ember to just play it right off the bat. We only have 3 Ember, and it's 4 right now. Now, the Prism Retrieval is kind of interesting. Because it's X, we can just play it, even if we have no Ember left. So it's kind of like guaranteed trigger for our incants. Not only that, we can wait until we do have a unit left on our deck that we want to pull, and pull it for a very, very cheap amount, like the Shadow Eater. It also consumes itself from our deck after we play it, so it helps our boss deck get a little bit thinner and a little bit more powerful. It's not a card that we'll have to keep drawing over and over and over again. It also gives us the opportunity to get more units out on the first turn. If Prism Retrieval's in our opening hand, we get a guaranteed minion every turn, so we have a higher chance of getting 2 or 3 minions out from the get-go. So we can heal, upgrade our units, and get some money. Or on the other side, we can upgrade our spells, remove 2 cards, and get a random encounter. Removing cards, very, very strong right now. We still have Train Stewards in our deck, which we want to fully get rid of. We wouldn't mind losing some of our Forgotten Knowledges, or Forgotten Powers, whatever that 0 mana cost, what is that? Oh, it flew by too quick. Yeah, we're definitely getting out the Train Steward. And what is the next card we remove? It's probably not a Shade Splitter, is it? I think it's one of these Foregone Powers. Maybe it is a Shade Splitter. Let's see. I'm like, Shade Splitter gives me extra energy if I need it, which is really, really good. But oh, wow, it's a Shade Splitter. I mean, I definitely think that I did need to get rid of one, at least. We upgrade our spells. This one is allowing it to gain double stacks, so that means that its effect triggers 2 times. And it costs 1 more Ember to play. There's a couple good options here for the double stack target. Titan's Tooth applying 20 Frostbite, that's really, really good. Guardian's Amulet applying 2 sap, or 4 sap I mean, would be very good, reducing their attack by a ton, giving us that many more turns to swing on them. And Immortal Trade is very good as well. 6 turns of lifesteal is very, very, very hard to get around. That means our unit pretty much fully heals for 6 attacks. We're gonna choose the Guardian's Amulet because it's better against more enemies. Right now we just need to deal with swarms. We're very, very good against big life enemies because we deal a lot of big single target damage up at the top. We just can't have a ton of enemies get up there. And we're gonna make one of these Shade Splitters 0, just because the more 0 mana cost spells we have in the deck, the better. Still the same principle here for upgrading the helical crystals. We play it more. You know, we don't play the Ice Tornadoes as much. Every time we draw the helical crystals, it only being 2 Ember, very high chance that we upgrade that. Actually, no, I think we upgrade the Titan's Tooth here because we need area damage. We're continuously thinking about that area damage. I'm actually misremembering how we played it, but yeah, no. In the vein of what we just spoke about, we need area of effect. As long as we can area clear, you know, we're going to win every single fight. We're thinking if we want to spend the money to remove a card or re-roll. I think we're going to remove a card now. Nope, we're going to save up our money. And then go towards the random event. This is a huge run-defining moment here. This pretty much allows us to fight very, very hard for the rest of the run. I have the choice between powering up one of our units and making it take more floor space, I mean big time powering them up, or making one of my units take only 1 floor space. So it would take their floor space requirements down from 3 to just a singular 1. Now, as I mentioned before, I did upgrade capacity, which gave each of my floors 1 space, and it was the dream to get more than 1 Siren of the Sea on that top level. You know, what if I had the boss have to get through 2 super buffed up Sirens of the Sea to even get to my ultra massive champion, Soul Guard? That would be great. So I think that the option here is to reduce one of the Sirens' capacity. Gotta be the minor refraction. Making it happen. That's good for another reason, because they already had 2 upgrades, so this kind of cheats the system and gives them a 3rd upgrade that they shouldn't normally be allowed to have. Alright, so the challenge is enemies appear on every floor for 150 coins. Of course we take that. Every move that we have made in the past couple instances of situations has been to be able to handle multiple units. We don't draw a very good hand for dealing with multiple units, but it's totally fine. This deck is very, very powerful. And so we set up on the top, as we always pretty much have to. We're going to Ice Tornado up here, deal 20 damage to a random unit 3 times, totally clear out the top. We were dazed, so we couldn't fight. Next round we will be able to fight. Soul Guard will not, since he's still phased out, but we're going to try to cast as many spells as we can to get him awoken. We have some pretty interesting choices here. We can Immortal Trade, but that would make us take a gamble with our energy next turn. We could Foregone Power, maybe killing one of these units here. We're going to not Immortal Trade, maybe. Yeah, we're going to be safe. We want all of our energy next turn, I think. Ooh. past Rakdos' thinking. He wants to do it. He's like, I gotta cast spells for Soul Guard. We play it safe, of course. Alright. Collector spawns on the second floor. Fortunately, we did not do the... actually, we would have been fine because we had the packed morsels. So yeah, we would have been fine with using the Immortal Trade there. But, hindsight. But with our one space Siren, check it out. Look, we did it. Double Siren of the Sea. We dropped the packed morsels for 0. We're allowed to draw that again. Stuff these morsels behind the Shadow Eater so that its Gorge ability triggers, killing 3 units, including the Collector, as it's dealing damage to every single enemy unit. Play more spells. Play them. We're going to leave those morsels in our deck for the same reason as we did earlier. You know, we kind of want morsels in our deck to draw into them when we have no Ember from the Ember Drain. Now, we did take a little bit of Pyre health there. We did not have the single target damage to... sorry, no, we didn't have the area of effect damage to kill all of the little fanatics. Helical Crystal doing a ton of single target damage, making sure we don't take any more on this fight. And here we're going to see how good the Prism Retrieval is, I'm pretty sure. We got to wake up Solgar. Now, he's huge, but he takes 9 spells to wake up, so he's not easy to wake up. I should be playing my creatures first, yes. Play your creatures first so that you get the energy, and then use the energy on things like Ice Tornado or Perils. Perfect. I'm coaching my past self, even though I know my past self knew what to do. Alright, drop that heavy Ice Tornadoes, yep. Buff up that line. So Solgar needs only 2 more spells to wake up, and I'm like, you know what? I can do it right now. I can make it happen, and I should. There's no reason why I shouldn't. Once he's awoke, every single floor that will get destroyed. Like every enemy floor will get destroyed when they get up there. But we didn't cast Perils. We made a huge misplay. We made a huge misplay. Well, maybe not. Next turn we're definitely going to... no, we definitely made a misplay, because that guy got to the top. He would not have gotten to the top if I would have woken up Solgar. Alright, alright. See, this is really good for this too. I don't know how many, like, over commentary I'm going to do like this. I think that the rest of the ones from this series I'm going to do is just live. I'm going to, like, just play on Twitch and upload these as YouTube videos from there, do some editing, but yeah, I think that that's going to be the plan for the most part. But I wanted to get some practice in so that I didn't make an absolute fool of myself. And in practicing, I was recording and I got this game in. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do some commentary. This will be the very first video for my Monster Train for the Friends vs. Foes update. Hopefully the first of many. I really do want to play this game a lot more. It is a ton of fun, and now that every single faction has 2 different champions, the build diversity and the just amount of interesting things that you can do has, like, quintupled, in my opinion. So I could not be more excited. As you see, the boss here just can't even get through, like, half of the first Siren's damage. So we're like, okay, we absolutely have single target on lockdown. We just need area of effect. Even with all of our area of effect, we still messed up there and still took way too much damage. Here, we're like, no, we don't really need any of this. We already know what our deck is doing. You know, our deck is just getting huge on the top floor. And then I'm like, ooh, you know what we like? Floor space. Now, it's unfortunate that that costs 2, but floor space is very good. It's very good for the Shadow Eater. It's very good for, obviously, the top floor, if I can get even more units up there somehow. So we're going to take the Crucible extension. Here we have the choice between removing 2 cards, healing some Pyre health, and buying some trinkets. Or I can get a free artifact, go to a random event, or go to the Magic upgraded store. We're going to go get a free artifact. Not a great one. I can get dazed on the enemies that enter the room below the Pyre room. That's kind of pointless because that's my kill floor. And any enemy that gets there just dies. So it doesn't really matter that they get dazed. But here I get the opportunity to get double stack again. I think this one does go on the Immortal Trade. I'm thinking, hey, if I can double stack the Immortal Trade, then I can gain 6 lifesteal. And that will make that top unit even harder to deal any damage to. Buy me even more time for my incredibly huge champion to deal massive amounts of damage. We're gonna upgrade this with plus power and consume because we really don't like these ice tornadoes. They really clog up the deck a little bit. I would like to just play one, have it be really strong, take out a floor, and then be gone from my deck so that I can continue to do things like Crucible extension. We're gonna reduce its cost. When we re-roll, the chance of getting reduced cost for spells is like almost 100%, I think, something like that. I don't think you can get any other thing in the first slot other than the Ember Stone, but it's been so long I can't remember. But we're going to just remove a spell's cost and upgrade some damage, get the Helical Crystals because we're playing that the most. Same logic as we had been using. Oh, maybe we even it out for the Ice Tornadoes. I know we eventually upgrade that Ice Tornadoes. Is it now? Yeah, I think we are going to upgrade it now. We don't want 2 Ice Tornadoes in our deck, but 1 we wouldn't mind keeping. Yep, we're going to upgrade that one. And then we're going to get Crucible Extension to 0 because every time we draw Crucible Extension, we want to play it. So we don't want any excuses. We don't want anything to get in our way from playing that. So let's just make it 0. Here we are given the option to make our deck a little bit more inconsistent by adding these Blight cards to it and gaining various benefits from the Blight cards. As I stated, this deck only can win because of its consistency. If it has any turns where it doesn't draw a lot of spells, and I can't steadily progress Soul Guard towards activating, I will not be able to win. It's already a little risky and people are leaking through to my Pyre now before he's awake. But once he's awake, that floor just gets wiped out. So unfortunately, we can't take any of these. Moving on. This is a new second boss to the Friends and Foes expansion. It's pretty cool. It pretty much debuffs a floor and puts certain stipulations on that floor. So this bottom floor now, because it has that cube there, will have a stipulation that means that if you place spells on the floor or place units on the floor, bad things will happen to you. The cube just made all of my units get stunned on the floor. That doesn't matter for the Titan Sentry because his whole effect is a revenge effect. When the Titan Sentry takes damage, he triggers a frostbite effect on the enemies, as you saw there. So the enemies take a bunch of frostbite and then die, and at the end of their turn. That cube will make it to where if I cast spells on this floor, the spells will cost more. So I can't cast spells on the top floor this turn. That's actually very unfortunate. Not really anything else we can do there. Now we get our full setup, all 3 units on the top like we wanted, and we still have enough Ember to play the Prism Retrieval and both Shade Splitters and the Foregone Power, so this turn we can kind of go off depending on what the cube does. The cube is an Incant cube, I think. Is it the Spell cube? I didn't get to see. Alright. It is the Dazed cube, but that should be fine. If our units become dazed... Oh, it says non-morsel. I forgot, I learned that here. I was like, you know what? I think that it'll trigger even if they are dazed, and I play it, and I'm like, wait, where's the dazed? And yeah, it actually says non-morsel to make it a little bit more fair, because they know for sure that that would just cripple that faction that uses the morsels, the Umbra. Throw out the Prism Retrieval just to get it out of my deck. Once all my units are played, there's no point in it being in there, so I can just remove it. We are at 5 stacks on Solgard. We need 9 for him to come to life. 4 Ember here. We're going to try to discard the Guardian's Amulet with a Foregone Power, I think. We got to think very hard about what floor to play that on. We're going to play it there because the Shadow Eater can't really do anything that turn. That guy on the top is already dead, but we do want to play some more spells. He gains armor when we cast spells up there, but our units do so much damage that after we cast all the spells, he dies anyway. And Solgard is active. As you can see, the boss is taking 155 damage casually here. So we're going to stack up these morsels behind the Shadow Eater. Look at how much damage area of effect that ends up doing. That's pretty impressive. 50 some damage area of effect. It's pretty good. I'm probably gonna drop the let's see, probably the Titan's Tooth. No, actually the Ice Tornado. It'll deal 30 damage to him 3 times, so that's probably pretty good. So we dealt quite a bit of damage to him for free there. And we're only getting stronger on that top lane. We are now hindered by the Ember Drain, keeping us from doing really anything. But the enemies on the top lane still cannot progress up. Ember Drain letting up just a little bit. We still can't do too much. We can't play 2 units to get the boost in Ember. So we're just going to have to continue to Immortal Trade that same unit, stack them up as much as possible. We did take a tiny bit of damage there. Now our Ember is kind of fixed because we were able to play cheap units and get the Ember from our relic. That relic has really been saving us. We really needed it this run. Stack up a little bit of Frostbite, because it has a lot of time to take down. Thankfully, these spells are 0, so that we can just cast them, regardless of the huge amount of Ember Drain we have going on. And we're going to put this morsel here just because it gives her 1 more lifesteal, so it's just 1 more turn that she gets. Stack up quite a bit of Frostbite on him before he gets to the top line, just to lock it in. And let's see how much damage he does to our front line. Can't even kill the first Siren of the Sea. Let's drop some more spells on him just for the disrespect. And Soul Guard just slaps him around. I really like this new alternate champion for the Stygian. I want to play them over and over and over again until I understand everything about them. Here we're offered 3 pretty good cards for other decks. Nothing great for what we're trying to do. We skip out on those. We get another major upgrade. We're thinking maybe Ember, maybe card draw. We're going to go for card draw. Here's where it all changes. We can get a bit of money, we can upgrade our units and get some life, or we can remove cards from our deck, duplicate cards, and get an event. Duplicating cards right now is really big because we have the Sirens of the Sea that only have 1 floor space cost. So theoretically, if I duplicated that, I could have 3 Sirens of the Sea and Soul Guard all on the top floor. And plus I get 2 card removals if I go that route as well to make the deck even more thin and consistent. And I have Prism Retrieval to make it happen. I have to. I just have to. I see the power all coming together, and that's a huge aspect of scaling. You know, we want all our damage to multiply in a big way. And having another one of those units on that floor is a great way to do that. Tough to even remove something at this point. I think I removed one of the immortal trades, the one that isn't double stack, because we only need 1 right now. We don't really want to be playing the one that does not have double stack. We only really need them at the end, not in the beginning. All the other cards are pretty useful. Let's check out what the event has in store for us, and then we get to see the almighty power of the champion's final upgrade. So I can pay either money or life to have a chance to gain an artifact. They are called artifacts. Okay. I was like, artifacts, relics, trinkets, what are these things? The chance goes up each time I pay. 50% chance. I'm going to switch over. Friendly units get 3 life. That's meh. That's alright. It's pretty nice to give the morsels a little bit of life so they don't die to area of effect stuff from the enemy. Titan Channel 3. Instead of casting 9 spells to wake him up, we need to cast 12 before we even get to have him fight. But he was 75/75. He gains plus 100 plus 100. That's so huge. Now, the enemies have not even gotten to him so far, so his damage has been just fine. At 175, there's no way. Especially if I have even a couple Sirens in front of him. Even a Seraph on Covenant 25 will have a really hard time chewing through that. Alternatively, I can stick to the less spells to wake up and go to the action deal 3 damage per shard to the front enemy unit, but there's no way I could get that anywhere near high enough to be comparable with the damage of plus 100 damage. So now the only challenge is casting 12 spells on the top floor. That's our whole difficulty. We can allow the enemies to enter with spikes for quite a bit of money. I always try to take this challenge if I can, because 400 coins is a lot. That gives you a ton of buying power in this area next, because it's the final buying area. It's the final upgrade area before the last boss. We unfortunately do not get any of the Sirens of the Sea in the very first hand. First hand here is pretty weak, but we're just going to set up our units, get our Sacrificial Titan Sentry out of the way. Can't believe I'm not setting that up on the bottom. Huh. Well. Past me knows best. Wonder what that was about. Interesting. I just think the Frostbite would have more time to deal damage if I put Titan Sentry on the bottom there. Alright. The Collector coming up in here on the top. Unfortunately, we cannot kill it. Actually, we do have a foregone power, so we can kill it. But the units we summon up here, as you can see, are dazed. We fill up our top lane, get our Sirens up there. Our Ember comes back. We want the Shadow Eater on the bottom then, I guess. Maybe just for more sustain. Yep, we definitely go ahead and do that so that we get the kill. Can't let that money get away. The Collector gives us quite a bit of money if we can manage to kill them every round. Maybe put a little bit of Frostbite on this guy down here with tons of life. Get him chewed away at a little bit. Top floor taking 61 damage. We've only cast 2 spells up here. We need to go really hard on the spells. Get at least 1 morsel back there, as you can see, killing every single unit on that line except the winged guardian back there. We need to pump up that top lane. I wish we would have drawn the Crucible extension here, because we could give +1 space to the top lane and then drop the Siren to the Sea there. Get that triple Siren to the Sea top lane dream. As of now, we're in a little bit of trouble, so we need to make our damage very effective. Definitely as many morsels as we can get behind the Shadow Eater. Let's maybe play the Siren of the Sea behind the Titan Sentry to get just a little bit more damage here on this floor. No, if we were going to do that, we should do that before the Helical Crystals. Now that we've Helical Crystals, we kind of don't want to do that. Maybe past me is feeling regret in this moment. I would imagine past me is kind of like, dang it, inefficiency. Curse you, inefficiency. The bane of me. Let's see if I actually end up playing that Siren of the Sea there. I will be intrigued. Maybe I do save it, because I am trying to get it on that top floor. I'm like, no, I'm just going to leave it in my deck until I can get it on the top floor. You know what? Maybe I wasn't sad. I did take quite a beating there because I'm not able to wake up Soulguard. I'm like, dang, this isn't good. I'm not able to dominate the top lane like I want to. Let's get some morsels behind the Shadow Eater, but it won't matter. I see the Shadow Eater only has 12 and the enemies get to attack first, so they're going to deal so much damage to him. I would need to Guardian's Amulet to make them have no attack, so that the Shadow Eater would live. And I have the Ember to do that, so I drop that. Now he's living, and then I put this here. Bam! And now all of them die, because he eats them and heals up a bunch. I still have a lot of Ember, because I played quite a bit of units on this turn. Let's make sure this guy dies so he's not dealing a ton of damage to my Pyre. My Pyre has taken enough this run. Only 6 spells played with Soulguard. Remember, we gotta play 12 now for his giant body to start helping me. We're gonna go for the Ember Drain here. Yep. So he's at 8 out of 12. Let's see if we can kill the top lane. We can't. Top lane has so much life. Thankfully, we got several 0 mana cost spells to play. We're at 9 for Soul Guard. We could get every one if we get lucky here and we discard the Guardian's Amulet. I think that's what we're going to try to do. Oh no, we didn't have to get lucky because we can give ourselves energy. Nice. So we do the Shade Splitter. Yep. We're going to throw down the morsel down here. Not saving him. Oh, we are going to save him because we can consume. And when the Gorge is triggered, it kills all the enemies. Oh, so slick. Rakdos. What a great play. You just played that so quick too. Like you just knew. And then bam, we're going to drop this. That wakes Soul Guard up. And now you die for sure, buddy. No way you're surviving that. And now we are on a rampage. And every unit that gets to the top will get crushed. It's on autoplay now. Even with the deficiency of Ember, it's easy here. We drew our second Siren, and we would have been able to play it, but we're not going to need it. We woke up our big boy. He is just going to walk through boss and everybody else. We ended up not making the boss super strong, which is great. This boss gets more powerful every time you deal damage to him. So thankfully on the bottom floor our unit actually had 0 attack, so the boss did not rack up a lot of power. It would not have mattered either way. We used the Prism Retrieval to get our last Siren of the Sea out of the deck. Drop it down. We have the triple Siren of the Sea Dream. It's not going to matter in the slightest, but hey. We start casting our spells just to stack them up as much as possible. Reduces attack down to 0 just to be funny. We actually do end up stacking up his power quite a bit there, hilariously. But yeah, he kills the first of the 3 Sirens of the Sea and then a 178 life Soul Guard. We did take 30 damage there. People were still getting through. We definitely don't need any of those. And we definitely don't need any of these. We already have the Crucible extension on lockdown, so we are good to just take the money. Alright, moving on here. We can either take the left path, remove 2, go to a unit upgrade slot, and duplicate a card. Always appealing. Maybe duplicate a Siren. On the right hand side we can heal, we can gain some money, we can upgrade our spells. Regardless of which side we take, we're always going to get that shop in the middle, which is a trinket, or an artifact shop. We're going to gain the money and the life. We took a little bit too much damage in that last fight and we're going to play it safe. Our run's looking good, we know that our power can just increase a little bit. So we get 1 of 3 of these to buy. Actually we have enough money for 2. When you play your first morsel unit each turn, draw a card. Seems very powerful, with us also gaining energy when we play units. A Forgotten Name seems very good because we always play at least 2 or 3 spells per turn, so having something that just constantly increases our spell power, although not many of our cards in our deck really utilize spell power, it would at least give us some mileage, give us some damage. But the first unit that you summon each turn gaining damage shield is very good because you can play the unit in front of your unit you're trying to protect, and it eats up a lot of attacks from the enemy. We are thinking about whether or not to put Permafrost on the Guardian's Amulet so that it sits in our hand. Permafrost will mean that if we don't play it in the turn, it will not get discarded. It will just stay in our hand and we can hang on to it for a future turn when we need it. upgrading the helical crystals with damage and reducing the cost of maybe an ice tornado, maybe the immortal trade because it does kind of need to be 0 when we play it, or maybe a shade splitter because those are what give us units, and if we can play units for free, then we can get energy for free even when we are fully expended on our Ember Drain. An unlikely upgrade among all of our options, but the correct one. Just double checking everything, making sure we don't want to purge a card, making sure we don't want to reroll. Let's reroll for different options. Can we give something double stack? Titan Tooth with double stack, 20 Frostbite's pretty good. Definitely better than Perils. But I might not need to spend the money. Let's save the money. 10 magic power on the Ice Tornado that I'm going to be keeping. Yeah, let's do it. After debating and being like, I need sweep, I just need more area of effect. I don't know, man. Last couple of damage instances you took were from enemies that were just super big before Soul Guard was active. But we will do this route. We give up on the double stack. And we roll out. We give up on the double stack. Just save the money. I like to be as strong as humanly possible before I go into the next area. But it's better to save in this instance. Come on, dude. Are you really going to purge a card? I think he is. I mean, I am. No. Unless it's a Shade Splitter. Wow, foregone power. Yeah, I guess I really don't need that many of them. Wow, interesting. Then I check to see what boss I'm fighting. I'm like, does the boss purge spell cards from my deck? The boss can be one of several different final bosses. Alright, he removes buffs and debuffs. There he is. He has a lot of life. And the top floor has -1 space, so that's kind of unfortunate. I'll have to work extra hard to get that top floor to have enough space to contain all of my sirens. 4,000 life the boss has. Yikes. Despite the top floor having that reduced size, I have to set up there, and I know it. It just sucks. I'm like, maybe I do the middle. Maybe the middle's fine. It's like, no, dude. No, dude. You gotta set up on the top. There might have been some way I could set up on the bottom here, looking at it now. Actually, I don't know. Those units do so much damage. Oh my gosh! What? I did set up on the middle. Insane! I don't even remember that. Wow. I remember the debate and how hard it was to decide which one to do. Can't believe I chose that. I imagine this is going to be pretty tough. I mean, I'm going to give her a lot of life to not die, because she's about to get hit really hard with this next wave. Thank goodness I got a Titan's Tooth there. Look, she's taking 60. Titan Sentry definitely goes on the bottom line. He gets his damage shield. Casting the spells on the middle floor to rack up those spell stacks. Remember, you can cast the Shade Splitters on any floor, so make sure you cast them on the right floor, the floor that's giving you a benefit. It looks like we can use the Foregone Power to trigger the Titan's Tooth if we want to. So we're going to use Perils of Production on a unit that is going to die anyway. We're going to Prism Retrieval to give her tons of extra attack from 20 to 55. We're going to make sure that the Siren gets played down here so that we can help clear out the bottom lane a little bit more effectively, because these units have a lot of life. We're going to have to be dealing chunks of damage to them on every floor. Gotta be really cautious about it. And then we drop the Foregone Power, Titan's Tooth for free, because it has Offering. If it's discarded from your hand, it's played for free. And bam. And look, unit still lives. Still lives and goes up. I only have 72 life. Can't be taking tons of damage like that. So immediately I go up and I look, and I'm like, alright, he's taking 15. So he will be at 10, so I just need to deal him 10 more damage, and he's dead. I'm like, will Foregone Power do it? I don't think so. But I think I remember in this fight that I mess up, and I like Foregone Power him or something, and he doesn't die, and I'm like, oh dang, I miscalculated. We'll see if that ends up happening. We're already at 8 spells for Soul Guard, so only 4 more, and then he wakes up, and we can really start ensuring these floors don't get out of hand for us. We'd love to get that Siren of the Sea down in that middle floor. I think we're going to prioritize that. We know if we do that, though, we can't use the Ice Torrent, and we can't kill that top guy. So we're like, are we going to take 11? You know, if we play a Siren of the Sea, we pretty much submit to taking 11. But I think that we need to do that just to establish ourselves. No matter what. We just need to get established. Unfortunately, if we do that, all 3 of those units will gain Ember Drain. Actually, only 2 of them will. But that guy with the red wings, when he hits us, he puts Ember Drain on our own units. So we will start the game, or we'll start the next turn with much less Ember to work with. Do I really just drop the Ice Tornado down there? And, oh, I don't play the Siren of the Sea. Wow. I'm learning from my past self. I played just for the Foregone Power there, and I just accept that I'm going to take 11 anyway. Wow, 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 wow. Okay. Took the 11. Let's see if I can wake up Soul Guard this turn. I need to play 3 spells. It's looking highly likely. I'm going to take 4 more from that top guy. Pretty much no way I can avoid that. But I didn't die, and Soul Guard is coming online, so I think we have this one all set, even though our setup is less than perfect. 11, 1 more spell. Nope, not down there. There you go. Perfect! We drew the Siren of the Sea. So fortunate. We can get the Siren of the Sea down, gain extra energy. Now we can even play either the Guardian's Amulet or the Titan's Tooth, and then use the Foregone Power to trigger the other one. So good. We're really thinking about just playing the Titan's Tooth because we just need that damage, and boom. Look, Soul Guard came in, line is dead. Take a little bit more damage from that top guy. That's the last damage that we will take, hopefully. Now that Soul Guard is up and alive. Shadow Eater, a little late to the party, buddy, but at least you're here. Shade Splitter. As you can see, a lot of the top line is still living. We need to get that damage through. Soul Guard deals so much. Place down these morsels to do some area of effect. This particular morsel gives lifesteal when it's consumed, so we're going to give lifesteal to that very front one. Or try. I mean, it's going to die, actually, because the unit with the red wings has sweep, so he's going to deal damage to all units. As you can see, that morsel back there has the X, so he's just going to die for free. We're going to have to Ice Tornado on that middle line, help break up some of the damage. Come on. Perfect. Dealt just enough damage to weaken them to where we could cleave through. We could have took quite a bit there. And we have one last spell to cast. Might as well cast it on this floor to give the units even more power. Just kidding. Alright, 2 waves remaining. I'm doing really good so far. Even with all of our power with Soul Guard, the back unit still survives this with full life, so we're going to have to do even more work on that second floor. Morsel Miner, that's the best morsel right there. Gives the unit that eats it +5 attack and +5 max HP. Really, really good. This one, whoever eats it gets Divine Shield, which fully ignores 1 instance of damage. So as you guys can see, the morsels are pretty good. They do some good things for the units in the front line that eat them. Prop up some morsels on the bottom line here to clear out the back units. Drop an Ice Tornado here. Really hope that you can push through to that back line. And we can, thankfully. Just need the front 2 Sirens to do enough to kill the front one, and Soul Guard can kill the back one by himself. Lots of 0 mana cost spells that we can play on this turn. Play our second unit to give us energy back. Now we're up to 3. And we have total control over that middle lane now. Absolute domination. Took us just a little bit to get established, but we made it. We've managed to deal just a tiny bit of damage to the boss in the meanwhile. I think they're down to like 3,000 and some change. We're going to make this bottom floor as durable as possible to try to take as much life from the boss off as possible. Here comes the boss. 3,904. Yeah, we've dealt about 100 damage out of their massive life. Alright, it's time to ultra buff the mid lane. Get as many morsels out down here as we possibly can. Use that damage shield to block some damage. Boss only taking 10 from this, despite there being a Siren and Sea in there, just from the front units having so much life, being so thick. Let's see if we can blast through them with Helical Crystals and Ice Tornado. That unit's dead no matter what, so Ice Tornado. Boss goes from taking 10 to still taking 10. Now to taking 227. Still just such a small amount. Such a small amount. Like the floor that you need to kill the bosses has to be gross. Boss gets here, doesn't even die. Still has a long way to go. As much thick stuff as we have in front of them. But let's go ahead and fix that. We're going to go ahead and set up some damage shields. Ooh, wrong. That should have went in the front. I'm a little bit sad about that, but we continue on. And we set up our morsels. We got an immortal trade here. That's going to buy us a lot of time. And we can use this to sap them, reducing their attack. So that's going to buy us a lot of time. Just that gets us to kill. We're going to also set up the lifesteal, pump ourselves up. He doesn't even get through the second siren. Good game, Covenant 25 Seraph. These new champions are going to prove quite interesting and quite fun to learn. I do want to keep playing this champion, but I think that I'm going to go ahead and start streaming, and maybe we'll do one of these replay casts or something like that in the future, depending on how much Monster Train I'm playing offline. Ooh. So that is the first run for the series for Monster Train Friends vs. Foes. Covenant 25. Check our score here. Pretty low score, actually. New record for the incant triggers by a large margin, though.